MotoVagabondNate connects a junction box on a 2025 CFMoto Ibex 450. It's your MotoVagabondNate back with a whole new how-to, because now the new adventure bike too is the 2025 Ibex 450 from CFMoto. So we're going to start accessorizing and personalizing this motorcycle. I'm going to go over some of the main essentials that I have, like navigation, so a junction box to hook up my navigation, heated equipment, accessory sockets, and other electrical things that we can hook up to the bike and keep them safe, and not too many of those connectors hooked to the battery. So let's get started on hooking up a junction box on our 2025 CFMoto Ibex 450. The factory toolkit contains most of the tools necessary. A handle with a screwdriver, a 17, 214s, 12, 10, 8, and a 654mm Allen. This is the junction box we'll be hooking up today. It contains a junction box, the fuses, and labels to mark all your new connections. We will also be needing some electrical equipment like crimpers for our heat shrink connectors, zip ties, 12-gauge wire, and wire loom. I've already connected the GPS mount and the switch to the handlebars. So now let's get started wiring the junction box. First things first, we're going to remove the seat. Lock cylinder is right here on the left-hand side. Pull up and back. Put that to the side for now. And that gives us access to under the saddle. Under the saddle, I've already removed the huge factory battery and replaced it with a lithium battery to add some extra space and storage, and we're going to utilize this area in the very back where the toolkit sits to put our junction block. Next, I crimped the wires for the GPS with the appropriate connectors that will fit in the junction box. Without access to a heat gun, I use a lighter to heat the heat shrink on the connectors. Now I'm going to install them on the junction block so that I can ensure nothing's going to be a problem with clearances. Then we have some that are too big. They're not going to fit in there, so I'm going to cut these off and put the appropriate size eyelet on there before we mount the block to the plastic block underneath the seat. Eyelets were still a little bit too big, so require just a minute amount of filing. They should slide right in, just like so. Now that we have all of our goodies, like our navigation, our heated vest, our auxiliary USB, and a backup USB that I'm going to convert to, or SAE that I'm going to convert to USB, we take our cover, we find the appropriate stickers, and we've got the junction box complete. Now we need to wire the junction box to the battery and to the kill switch that I'm putting on the handlebars. Now we take some of the screws supplied with the junction box, and there's two perfect little raised plastic pieces that we can mount and secure this into. Now I just run a positive cable up to the switch and back to the battery, and my negative cable directly to the battery. I've already connected my GPS and ran the cable, just taking off the one side panel, which is 3 bolts and 2 Phillips head screws, and that panel pops right off. Ran it out the outside of the tank and the right side of the motorcycle. To keep it protected and to keep it looking good, I do have some protective coatings that I'm going to run not only the GPS cable but also the power cable. So let's get in here and show you how to take this panel off. We have the 3 5mm Allen, one behind the turn signal up here. And then we have a hard to find Phillips up hidden in here. And there's one more from the inside that sometimes requires moving the forks to get your screwdriver into. We're going to just pull our covers off, and that will give us access into the side of our motorcycle. Now we're going to feed the wire into the loom. Push that up to the top so we get to the length that we need, and then we can cut our wires to the desired length. Now that we got the loom ran back from the junction box up front, we measured and installed our power cable. Now we have one more cable that goes from the other end of the switch lead and to the battery, which I made a mark of where that goes, and we'll get that length cut correct, finish the plumbing, and then we can connect everything. Now it's time to connect our switches I like to hide them back in the loom and then use some electrical tape to keep them secure in little 6-inch increments all the way down the loom. This is where I put the loom access hole to push our piece out for the battery. Do one more nice little stop up this point. She's ready to be reinstalled. So we're going to push our wires back down through the side here. Making sure everything still reaches. So now we've got our GPS hooked back up. Our power is right here. So we're going to connect this into this with a 10mm. We're going to create a negative cable that runs just from the negative post down to the negative post of the battery. So we finished running our negative cable and coming down to our terminal, which we just haven't hooked up because we want to wait until we're 100% ready for our negative. That's the last to go on. Our positive, we ran our heated suit and our GPS through that power loom as well. Nice and pretty, that we're going to zip tie up and keep looking tight. So we're ready to hook up the battery and give it a test. Now if we simply turn on this switch, we should be able to have power to the GPS. Boom! Charging. So our junction box is functional. Stay tuned to MotoVagabondNate as we start to install more factory and aftermarket accessories on our CFMoto Ibex 450.